In this episode, we're going to take a look at how we can use Canvas to create the eraser effect on the home screen, as well as add animations to our titles. Now we're going to work on the banner section in the home page, which had that effect where it was erasing the background and revealing the video. So let's go ahead and get that started. What we first want to do is we need to create a folder inside our components folder, and we'll call that folder home page. And inside the home page folder, here is where we'll house all the components related to the home page. So we'll create a new file inside the home page folder, and we'll call this the home banner.js, RAFCE. Oops, it's not working. Okay, there we go. To create a functional component, I'm going to go ahead and create the JSX, and they will be in styled components format, and then we'll build those styled components in the styles folder. So with the home banner, its parent div is going to be a banner, and inside the banner, it's going to have a video. Now outside of that video, we're going to have a canvas, and outside of that canvas, we'll have a banner title, and inside the banner title, we have a headline, and the first headline will say dig, and then we'll copy headline again, and then we'll say deep. So what the headline represents is going to be H1s. The banner title is going to be a div tag. Canvas will be canvas. Video will be video. And the banner will be a div tag. So let's get these imported. And to do so, we will say we're going to import these from, first list them out. So we have banner, we have video, we have banner title, we have canvas, and we have headline. And these are not made just yet, but we'll make them in a second. So we're going to import these from our styles directory, and more specific, we'll get these from the home styles. This is not yet created, but we'll do that right now. In the styles folder, go ahead and create a new file, and you'll call this home styles.js. And in home styles, let's go ahead and import styled from styled components. And we'll also want to import motion from framer motion because our banner title will have animations in it when the page loads, and so they will be motion components. Let's take a look at what we've got so far. We don't have any errors because the home banner isn't being rendered. If we go to index.js, we can bring in home banner, and let's add a self-closing tag. We can create a section for the components will render, and we can bring in home banner from /components/homepage home banner. And now we'll get errors, but we're not going to take a look at them just yet. We already know what they are. They're the fact that these are not defined. Okay, so first we're going to work on the banner components. So we'll do export const banner is equal to style.div. Now the background of this banner is going to be a variable, and so we'll use our props method. And so we'll use our props to bring in the background, the props.theme.background. And this background will always change between black and white depending on what our current theme is. The height, we'll set it to 100 viewport height, and the width, we'll give it 100%. Our position is going to be relative, and our margin bottom is going to be 296 pixels. Let's save that, and we can keep on going. To actually show you progress while we're working on this, I think it's best that we comment out certain things. So let's comment this out and refresh. Yeah, so the background of this banner is being changed, but it doesn't look any different when compared to what we had before. So now we're going to work on our video. So I'll comment everything out and I'll leave video working. I'm going to copy the structure that we have for the banner, except change it to video and get rid of the styles. Our height of the video is going to be 100%. The width of the video will be 100% also. And now what I have is this video component being the parent div of our video that's going to be nested inside. So we'll have the video tag nested inside the video component, and the video tag that's inside of it will get an object set to cover. Back in our home banner.js, we'll add a video tag inside the video styled component, and we'll set the height of the actual video to 100%, the width also to 100%. We'll add a loop so that it could always play. We'll set an autoplay so that when the page loads, the video will automatically play. And now we'll pass a source, which we can write require. And we're going to require the following path, // go into assets, video, and we'll say video.mp4. Save this and let's take a look at what we have. So currently it's working where the video is automatically playing in the background. If we change the theme color, only the color of the corresponding elements do change. So we've got the video working. Now the idea is to have a canvas that sits on top of the video, and then we can erase the canvas to show what the background is, which the background is this video. Let's go back in our project, and now we can work on canvas. So I'm going to leave banner title commented out, but let's get canvas going. Again, the following structure with all the styled components, just change the name to the corresponding component. So it's canvas. Change everything in the styles. We'll set the position to absolute. We'll have a top of 0, a left of 0. Our height is going to be 100%, and a display of block will be given to our canvas. And we'll just continue on with the banner title. So let's go down here. We'll add banner title. And the difference here is that banner title will not be a div. It's going to be a style.h1 since we want it to represent as an h1 tag. And we'll give the banner title a position of absolute, a bottom of -120 pixels, a left of -18 pixels. We'll give it a color. And again, we'll use the props just to access the text of the theme. And we'll also give it a pointer events of none. We'll copy the banner title again and change the name to headline instead of the banner title. And we'll make this a span tag. So it's going to be span tags inside of our banner title. The display is going to be set to block. Our font size will be 23 rem. The font-weight is going to be set to 900. And you'll probably need to play with the sizing here a bit, depending on what font you're using. The align height is going to be 0.76. Now let's save this, go back to the home banner, and we can then comment out banner title. And so we now see dig deep here in the bottom left. If we change the color to a light theme, dig deep will also change its color. Okay, cool. So it's working like we want it to. We can now focus our efforts on the canvas, having that background and making it disappear. Now we'll want to scroll to the top and import a use effect as well as a use ref. And first thing we need to do is get a reference for our canvas. So we could say use ref, set it to null initially since it's not defined. And then for our canvas, we'll say ref set to canvas. Let's bring in that use effect, and we can leave it as an empty array for now and just get rid of whatever is inside. So now this part does get a little tricky. I'm not the best with canvas, but I'll do my best to try to explain everything. To access canvas in the use effect, we'll use canvas.current. And so what this will do is just access canvas for us. And what we need to do is create a variable for canvas current. So I will say rendering element is equal to canvas.current. Next, we need to replicate the rendering element and provide a drawing element so that we can draw on it. And drawing element is going to be the rendering element, which is our current canvas, but we're going to clone node so that we can clone that. We're then going to grab the context of the drawing element and the rendering element. To grab the context of the canvas, we can specify a drawing context. Let me use camel case. And what we'll do is we'll say the drawing element dot get context. And for the option, we'll pass in the 2D option, which right here describes that it's the identifier for the type of canvas to create. Internet Explorer supports 2D. You can do 3D, but we'll just need 2D for this project. I'm going to copy this again and paste it, but instead of the drawing context, I'll do the rendering context and change the drawing element to rendering element. So we're grabbing the context of both the drawing element for the original canvas we're grabbing the context for the rendering element for the original canvas and the drawing element for that black box that we're going to be erasing. We can list out some more variables. So we could do let last x, which will be the last position of the cursor, and then a let last y, which will be the last position of the cursor, but in a y position. And then we can also specify if the cursor is moving or not. So initially it'll be no, so we'll set that to false. Now to render the black box, what we could do is we can say rendering context dot global composition composites operation will be set to source over. And what source over means, it's pretty much sort of a way that different elements layer on top of each other, sort of like a blending mode in a way. But I'll have a link in the description to MDN that explains the source over, destination out, anything related to global composite operations. Next, we're going to do a rendering context of fill style, and this will create the rectangle. And we'll set the fill style for now to 00000, which will be black. And then the rendering context dot fill rect, which means it's going to fill the rectangle. And then we have the position from top left or XY, so we can do 0, 0. And then we can describe the heights, the height of the canvas. So we could say 100 pixels for now, and the width is going to be 100 pixels. So if we preview what we have, let's refresh. We do get an error, and I think this error comes back to the fact that we can't access the context or get canvas current because canvas was never a canvas. So I saw this earlier and I forgot to change it, but div needs to be changed to canvas. Okay. So now if we refresh, now we have this black box, but it isn't a perfect sized box to fit the entire screen. To do this, what we can do is grab the browser's height and width and set it for our fill rectangle, as well as set it for our canvas height and width. To do that, we are going to rely on creating a custom hook that will grab the browser's height and width. In our source folder, we can create a new folder, and we can call this folder hooks. And inside the hooks folder, we'll create a file, and we'll call this usewindowsize.js. Now with usewindowsize, we're going to import a useState and a useEffect from React. And we'll do export default function usewindowSize. And inside that usewindowSize, we have another function that will get the size. So we can say get size. And what we're going to return in this function is the width, which will be window.innerWidth. And then we can also return the height, which is window.innerHeight. Now this is the function to grab the height of the window. What we'll then do is create a useState. So with the useState, we'll have window size and a set window size. And then we'll use useState. And what we're passing in here is that getSize function. So we can say getSize. Don't forget the equal sign. Now in our useEffect, we can then run that function handle resize. Now we'll then create a useEffect, and we can leave that as an empty array. And let's get rid of everything inside. We can create a custom function that will handle the resize of the browser. So we do handle resize. And what handle resize is going to do is set the window size or set the state to whatever getSize is. So we can then run that getSize function. And if you remember, getSize function is just returning the width and the height of our window. Now to execute this, what we're going to do is every time the browser resizes, we're going to run the handle resize function. So we'll do a window.add event listener. And inside the event listener, we're checking for resize. And if resize does occur, we'll run that handle resize function that we define in our useEffect. And then for the cleanup, we'll simply say the same thing, except we're removing that event listener. Now save that, and I do see a few mistakes already. I misspelled window size, and this whole thing right here is actually going to be inside this window size function. So go ahead and paste it in there, save that. And at the very end of this use window size hook, what we're going to do is return the value of window size. So we'll just return window size. Now, every time we return this function, we are returning the width and the height, and we can access that anywhere throughout our app. So let's save this. And then inside home banner, we can use this custom hook. So I'll say custom hook, and I'll import use window size. And as I use window size, we can store it as a variable. So what I'll say is const size is equal to use window size. Now size would be equivalent to the window size state. So if I save this, I can then access the size of the width or the height, which then means I could replace this 100 with a size.width and a size.height, like so. And even in our canvas, we could do a height is equal to size.height, and the width is also equal to size.width. Like so. Let's go ahead and save that and preview what we have. So we did get an error because the get size error seems to be wrong, and it's because it's not camel cased. So let's do get size. Perfect. So now that black square completely covers our background. If we change the color, it doesn't change the color of the canvas, but we can work on that right now actually. To change the color of the canvas, we'll want to change the fill style dependent on the current theme. So you know what that calls for. That calls for grabbing the context of the current theme. So let's do context. We can import use global state context, and we'll import this from the context. And so we can then just grab the current theme. So current theme is equal to the use global state context. And then we can pass current theme as a dependency and use it inside our use effect now by just getting rid of this. We can say if the current theme is equal to a dark theme, we'll make the background color or the fill color to a black one. Otherwise, we'll set the color of the fill to a white color, like so. Go ahead and save that. And if we toggle between the current theme, you can see that the canvas color or the fill style is actually changing, which is neat. Perfect. Let's carry on and start adding that eraser effect. Let's create some room in our use effect. And what we'll do here is we'll say rendering element dot add event listener, and we'll say mouse move, and then pass an event. And so when we hover on the rendering element, which is our entire canvas, we'll set moving to true. And then what we want to do is update these last X and last Y, which represents that last position. So we can say last X is equal to the event.pageX minus the rendering elements dot offset left. Okay, and we can do the exact same thing for the Y. It's just we are changing a few things. So change the last X to last Y, page X to page Y, and then the offset left will be an offset top. Let's save this, and I want to copy and paste this again because it's pretty redundant. The thing that's different is that we're changing the event listener from mouse move to mouse up, so that when we hover off the canvas, we'll want to set moving to false, letting us know that we completely got off the canvas. And then finally, we'll want to create that effect of that eraser. And so the way to do that is have a rendering element. I'm copy and pasting because I don't feel like rewriting. We'll have an event listener on the rendering element, which is mouse move. And what we're doing here is we'll have an if statement. So we'll say if moving, we'll want to do that eraser effect. We'll set the drawing context to a global composite operation of source over. And I'm going to copy and paste this again and change drawing context to rendering context. And we're changing the rendering context global composite operation to a destination out. Perfect. We do have that last X and last Y that we're using, but we also need a current. So what we'll do is we'll create a current X, and current X will be the same thing of what we have to the X and the Y. So we'll say e.pageX minus the rendering element dot offset. left, and we can copy and paste this again. And for our Y, we'll say that the e.page Y and the rendering offset element, or sorry, the rendering element is going to have an offset up top. And now we can start working on the drawing context style real quick. So the drawing context will have a line join set to round, and then we'll say the drawing context dot move to will be the last X and the last Y, and then the drawing context dot line to will be the current, so current X and the current Y. We'll then want to close the path through dot close path. We also want to set the radius of the drawing context, and we can do that through line width. So we'll say line width is equal to 120. And then we'll also want to add a stroke for our drawing context. So we'll do a stroke. And then finally, when we update the last positions, they will be equal to the current. So last X is equal to current Y, or sorry, last X is equal to current X. Let me scroll down a bit. And the last Y is equal to current Y. Finally, what we're doing is writing rendering context, and we'll do a draw image, and we'll pass in drawing element and set the coordinates to 0, 0. Let's save that. And looking at it, I did make a mistake. Mouse move should only exist on this section here for when we move the mouse, but I do have a mouse up, and this should be mouse over. So when we hover or mouse over on top of the canvas, we'll set moving to true. So the idea here is when we hover on the canvas, moving is true, executing the following, and when we hover off, moving is false, stopping from this from occurring. So now let's take a look, and okay, perfect. So now it works like we want it to. I do want to update the cursor, so let's do that real quick. One thing I had trouble with was the fact that in layout.js, we are given the opportunity to pass props to components that are defined here, such as this onCursor method. However, I did have a hard time figuring out how to pass this onCursor function to the children, which is our pages. I searched a bunch of places and I tried their solutions, but it seemed to only work for Gatsby v1. We're using Gatsby v2. If you do know a solution to this in the comments, that will truly help me out. A workaround was just to define this function in the index page and then pass it to all the components that need it. So I'll copy this function here, and I will need to write it in the index.js here, like so, and then just pass the onCursor to the home banner so that we can access this function. I don't like this way at all because I'm writing this function twice in the index page and in the layout, but I couldn't seem to find a way to pass props from layout to its children. I struggled with it and I just gave up on it. So if you do figure out a way, please let me know in the comments. We can jump back to home banner, and using destructuring, we can access that onCursor. And what we'll do on the canvas here is add a mouse enter. So on mouse, we'll just say on mouse leave, we're going to pass that onCursor function, and on mouse enter, we are going to run that function, the onCursor, and we're passing hovered. Okay, now save that, and then current styles is not defined. Okay, so in index.js, this cursor type and the cursor styles actually is not defined. So going to layout.js, we can grab the context as well as the dispatch, because we also need that in the index page. So let's define that there. And then don't forget to import your context into your index page so that we can access the context. Let's save that and take a look now. So now we have that border red circle, which represents a hovered. And when we hover off the canvas, it goes back to the default. When we hover on, and so on. Okay, and one issue that I see here is when we change the current theme, it saves the state or the last X and Y. And so when we hover back on, you can see that it saves that. Now, maybe some people like this and they don't mind, but I would love it if we can change the current theme and then...
looks like there's a problem.
My Google Home is acting up. If we could change the current theme and that calls for this canvas resetting. I haven't been able to figure that out, but maybe someone in the comments can help. Lastly, I am going to add the framer motion animations required for this. I think the only animations here when we refresh should be the dig deep. So let's get that going. With the dig deep, we are having that staggered effect to it. So we'll need to use variants in framer motion. At the top, let's define what our animations are. So we could say const, and we'll just call this parent. And what parent's going to have is an initial, which is going to be set to a Y of 800 pixels. And then we're going to animate the Y to 0. And we'll give it a transition. And we'll say stagger children. Set it to 0.2 so that they can have a delay on them so that they can stagger between each other for 0.2 seconds. And we'll also have a child. So we'll do child parent. And I'll explain this variant here in a second, but we'll have actually we'll just copy what we had, where we will have initial and animate. The initial of the child is going to be 800. The animate is going to be a Y of 0. The transition is going to be different. It's not going to stagger. That's only specific to the parent. We'll add a duration for the children of 1 second, and we'll give it an ease with an array of 0.6, 0.05, negative 0.01, and a 0.9. So the idea here is that this, where am I going? Okay, banner title will contain these styles and or attributes of the parent. So it'll know that we have an initial of 800. It'll also know to stagger its children, and its children represent the headlines. And whatever child is, child will have a duration of 1 and so on. For the banner title, we'll give it a variance. And we'll say this variance is going to be for the parent. And we'll give it an initial. And initial will equal to initial. And animate will just equal to just that, animate. So we aren't renaming things here. Finally, for headline, we'll also say a variance. And we'll give this variance the child. So let's save this, and nothing should occur just yet. And that's because these are not motion components or motion styled components. So we need banner title and headline title. If we go to home style, motion is not being utilized. So we'll change this to styled motion.h1, and the span, leave it as styled motion.span. Let's go ahead and save this and preview. Let's refresh. And you can see that the header comes in from that previous video we did. And then the dig deep or the H1s have that staggered effect that come in, which is just lovely. We can continue to erase. We can change the theme and refresh. Perfect. So that's going to do it for this episode. We covered the banner section as well as creating the canvas. Next video, we're going to work on the navigation and just continue on there until we're finished with this project. If you did enjoy, please like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, have a wonderful day.